Did you observe them doing anything improper with Mr. Epstein, whether with masseuses or with women who were, or girls who were traveling, or at the residence that they were at, or at the parties that they were at?
I did not ever at any time see that.
Ghislaine Maxwell speaks. We're hearing from the convicted sex trafficker and accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein in a newly released interview with the Department of Justice. Does she answer all the questions we have about the Epstein files, a client list, alleged collaborators or co-conspirators? Let's see. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, let's talk about it. What exactly did Ghislaine Maxwell say when questioned by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche? Well, not only did the transcript get released, but the audio of that interview did too. And we're going to play portions of it for you as well, because you're going to hear from Maxwell directly. Now, before we even do that, I've got to give you some context here, because first of all, we cannot confirm Maxwell is telling the truth, right? She is a convicted sex trafficker who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for facilitating the sexual abuse of young girls to deceased sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein. Does she have an incentive to say certain things right now? Remember, she's looking to get pardoned by President Donald Trump. Last month, the president said, "I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I haven't thought about." Maxwell, by the way, was also brought up on perjury charges at one point in time. She's been transferred recently to a low-security prison, so her credibility, her motivations, her timing, it's all in question. And let's not forget why this interview matters. This comes after the Trump administration and the DOJ have taken a lot of heat these past several weeks, after the DOJ and the FBI released a memo saying, after reviewing a plethora of evidence in the Epstein case, there's no client list of prominent individuals who knew about or participated in this purported sex ring, that they did not uncover anything that would warrant launching an investigation into anyone else. And people have been questioning this, particularly since there was a lot of comments before this announcement. And there's been a plea with the administration for more transparency. That is why you've been seeing this push by the DOJ to release the grand jury materials in the Epstein-Maxwell criminal case, although that has been blocked by federal judges who basically say there's no point. There's nothing new in there, nothing that really adds to the conversation, nothing that would suggest there was a client list or third parties, that this echoes what has already come out during the course of the Maxwell trial and what's in the public record, and I tend to agree. And the president himself has faced questions about his apparent connections or relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, President Trump filed a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal over reporting that he allegedly sent some sort of racy birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein. He's completely denied this. So now they have an opportunity to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice, to get to the bottom of all these answers, right? To set the record straight, maybe. Okay, again, take everything she says with a grain of salt. Having said that, let's get into it. So what did she have to say about President Trump and whether he participated in any of this alleged abuse of girls?
What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein?
Well, I just want to say, for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him?
I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together, and I remember the few times I observed them together that they were friendly. I mean,
was that in social settings or was that in private settings?
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving massages to, private massages to Mr. Epstein? And I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes. But I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that.
Now, we've been following the Maxwell story. We've been following the Epstein story for a while here on Sidebar. We're going to continue to bring you updates as they develop. And I want to thank our sponsor, Upside, because it's with their support that we're able to produce an episode like this. Now, if you don't know what it is, it's awesome. Upside is great. It is a free app that gets you cash back when you buy daily essentials. I pump my gas, I can use Upside. Go out to lunch, I can use Upside. Get something at a convenience store, I can use Upside. And why not get cash back when I do all these things, right? This is real, actual cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app, you get paid. So to find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen. But make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Now, that last part seemingly was in regards to deceased Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, who claims she was recruited by Maxwell in 2000 when she was working at Mar-a-Lago. And President Trump even recently said that his falling out with Epstein occurred because he was poaching workers from Mar-a-Lago, including Giuffre. Now, going back to what Maxwell said here, could she be telling the truth? Sure. But there are those who may say she is saying whatever she needs to say to get a pardon, highlighting her praise of the president, right? His extraordinary achievement. What do we make of that? Now, to be clear, there has been no independent evidence suggesting the president knew about or participated in any criminal activity associated with Epstein or Maxwell. So she could very well be telling the truth here. And I want to be clear about that. And as we have said before, when we analyzed Epstein's contact books, people may have known Epstein, they may have done business with him, they may have socialized with him, but that doesn't mean they are a part of anything or are guilty of anything. Oh, and about that letter, that birthday letter or card to Epstein, take a look.
Do you remember specific names of individuals who did send letters or who did contribute?
It's been so long. I want to tell you that I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
The article talks about several names, but including the focus of the article, which is on Donald Trump. Do you remember President Trump submitting a letter or a card or a note?
I don't.
Do you think the articles, well, do you remember seeing that book or any portion of the letters in your discovery in New York?
Yes.
Okay, what do you remember seeing?
I remember there were some portions of that book, but what surprised me, what surprised me was how few there were, because I thought if you had those, where are the rest? There was none of Mr. Trump.
In your discovery?
In my discovery, sorry. President Trump, there was nothing from President
Trump. And do you remember, but separate and apart from your discovery, do you remember one way or the other whether President Trump submitted a letter for his 50th birthday?
I do not remember.
By the way, talking presidents, you know whose name comes up a lot? Former President Bill Clinton. Yeah, now a Clinton spokesperson had confirmed at one point in time that Clinton had taken 4 trips with staff on Epstein's plane in 2002 and 2003, so this is after he left office, that he met up with Epstein in New York in 2002, even visited his apartment, so there seems to be some sort of association or relationship. But Maxwell, who indicated Clinton was her friend, not Epstein's, was very careful with her wording and characterization.
So we talked about people that were his clients, and you've mentioned President Clinton, and then early on.
Oh, I never said he was a client.
I did not say you said. I'm saying you talk about his clients.
Oh, okay, right.
And then, do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't, so that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they traveled. There was that, they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
And that goes to another question. Was there really a client list, like we talk about so many times? A list that Epstein had of everyone who allegedly participated in this sex trafficking operation? Here's what Maxwell says.
There's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of any such list?
There is no list. Right. I just want to reiterate again, there is no list that I am aware of. I've never, at any time, at least during the period of time when I was present.
Okay.
And she also went into her interpretation of how this idea of a client list originated. And I'm not going to play it for you because it's very convoluted, but basically this is what I believe she's saying. She seems to claim that the story of a list began in 2009 during civil litigation involving Epstein when a lawyer named Brad Edwards allegedly contacted the FBI to report that he had obtained a document. And this document apparently came from Epstein's former butler, Alfredo Rodriguez, listing Epstein's clients, alleged victims, underage girls, massage therapists, men supposedly involved. And she claims that Rodriguez allegedly had a journal or notes, sometimes referred to as a black book, that became part of the civil suits and FBI evidence. The document that he provided became Exhibit 52 during Maxwell's trial, a marked up address book with names and circles and annotations. And she seems to claim that the FBI affidavit and Brad Edwards' own timeline about when he received the list, they don't line up. That Edwards allegedly had access to the list for months before turning it over. And Maxwell claims that her then boyfriend, Ted Waite, was asked to pay $10 million to keep her out of lawsuits. And she believes this was essentially blackmail, supported by supposedly fabricated or manipulated evidence, including the list. According to Maxwell, the list evolved through various forms over time. And she suggests that Brad Edwards or others manufactured or manipulated the list by marking up a document, meaning the address book, and selectively including names. Remember, we talked about there are people who are in this address book or contact book. Doesn't mean it's the list. So she goes on to say that some of those names, like Alan Dershowitz, possibly Donald Trump, appear with no clear context. That is true. We've seen that address book. That's very true. There's a lot of names with no context. Now, Maxwell also argues that none of the original alleged victims ever claimed that they were, quote, farmed out or linked to men via a list. And she believes the list and the blackmail claims came from a small group, a few lawyers, a few alleged victims, prosecutors. She emphatically denies ever seeing a list, a black book, any document tying clients to masseuses or victims during the time she was with Epstein. She states absolutely no, there is no list. By the way, talking prominent lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who represented Epstein at one point in time and who Virginia Giuffre had accused of sexually abusing her. Remember, they were embroiled in litigation over those claims, but Giuffre actually released a statement saying she may have made a mistake in IDing Dershowitz. Well, Maxwell talked about him too.
So my personal memory of when I have two distinct memories with Alan. One is with him and his wife at the island, And I absolutely remember that. And I remember, I think, going to his house in Boston. If he had a house in Boston, that's the only 2 times I remember.
Did you ever observe Mr. Dershowitz doing anything inappropriate with young women around Mr. Epstein?
Never.
Did you ever hear anybody, did anybody ever tell you that he had done anything inappropriate?
Absolutely not.
Did you know one way or the other whether Mr. Dershowitz ever got a massage at the island or any of the locations that he was at with Mr. Epstein?
I don't remember anything about him ever getting a massage. I don't ever have any I don't believe I ever even saw him in a bathrobe. I have no knowledge of that.
Also, the convicted sex trafficker denies doing anything wrong or seeing anything and denying any involvement of anyone.
I saw him with lots of masseuses. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back or whatever. So based on my observation, I don't think that if you are being raped, as now he's like this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would return.
It's not what you observed at the time.
Not what I observed at the time, no. If I didn't make it clear, I will reiterate it. I never, ever saw any man doing something inappropriate with a woman of any age. Yeah. And I did introduce him to women. I did, but not underage women. I understand that there are allegations. I have read them about myself going to schools. I can categorically tell you that I have never in my life gone to a school to pick up a child. Well, not for this purpose. I mean, like my stepchildren, but okay, sorry. Just.
No, I understand.
Okay, thank you. It's just. I hear you. I was there though, and
yeah.
And you're talking about very substantial people, and you are extrapolating because the narrative that started in, by the way, not until 2009 is when it really started. So that narrative that was created and then built upon and it just mushroomed into what, basically this is like a Salem witch trial. People go and lost their minds for this thing. I understand that. But the issue is, how do you satisfy a mob who can't understand the lifestyle because it's like P. Diddy in Redux on TV with Clintons and Trump? I mean, it's bananas. And while some of it is real, he did do those things. I'm definitely not disputing that. But this was a man, he didn't even believe he had a real business. I happen to believe he did. Did he grip? I don't know, because I wasn't really in his business. But this is a one man. He's not some. They've made him into this. He's not that interesting. He's a disgusting guy who did terrible things to young kids. You're not going to hear me say what he did to people who are over the age of 18. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go there. That's just not what I'm here to. I mean, okay. But to suggest that Larry Summers or Clinton would suddenly go, oh my gosh, this is like a guy, I'm going to get my body rubbed and have some sex. The men that went and had a massage and maybe did something sexual? The men. I wasn't in the room. I cannot tell you if that happened. And if it did, I never paid for that, just so that we're clear. Nobody ever said to me, oh, you know, we had sexual intercourse and that's if it was a 3. I'll be like, okay, TMI. No, not my business. You want to? It's just not. And I didn't want to know. Maybe there's that. But did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there is no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, some of you in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers and you know, would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find that. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. Now, okay, I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it.
You know, there's one thing to say she doesn't want to admit to anything because her case is currently on appeal. She's trying to get the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. There is another thing entirely to say, well, if you're raped, why would you come back? As if our understanding of survivors and the psychology behind what is said and what is done hasn't evolved in the past 20 years. But she denies it all. And that includes, by the way, Prince Andrew. Now, Jeffrey had claimed that she was sex trafficked to the royal before she turned 18. There was even a photo of the two that made the rounds in the media. But here's what Maxwell said, basically, that it's impossible.
What do you think? Or what did you see?
Well,
what did you hear?
What's an even bigger word than
Okay. Why? Well, go ahead, but finish that thought. Why do you think that?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm so happy to tell you. I'm like excited. I'm beyond excited. The idea of him doing anything of that nature in my house that's the size of this room is so mind-blowingly not conceivable to me as the man, or what I just can't, I can't even, no.
Is there any way that it could have happened?
No.
Okay.
Where she says that they had relations in a bathroom, first of all, the bath is an old Victorian bath. I'm quite small. It's tight for me. I put my brother in there to see what would happen, and it looks like a blivet, which is a sausage in a very tight skin. So her description of whatever the two people were doing in the tub, that would work.
When you were just asked about the photo, you said you actually thought the photo was fake. Do you think it was just misdated, or do you think it's literally a fake photo?
I believe it's literally a fake photo.
Why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I don't remember it. The issue is, could Andrew have come to the house to see me or see Epstein and say hi and she had been there? Yes, I can't say that didn't happen. But what I can absolutely categorically say is that I never at any time set Andrew up to have relations with her or any other human being, ever.
Now, it wasn't just about the claims of sexual abuse and trafficking that she was asked about. Maxwell also talked about her theories regarding Epstein's death in 2019 at the MCC, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, out in New York, as he was awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. Now, the DOJ and the FBI concluded in that memo I mentioned before that he died from his own hand. Maxwell's not so sure.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
Which is a little bit different than my question is, which is, do you think there's somebody on the outside of prison, so putting aside what could happen on the inside, on the outside of prison who wanted him dead so badly that he would have, or she would have, caused him to be killed on the inside?
I think I don't see that. I think, is it possible? Of course it's possible, but I don't know of any reason why, and I don't believe in the blackmail or in any of this. I don't think Epstein had a hit like that. If it is indeed murder, I believe it was an internal situation.
But if to the extent that folks believe that he was murdered to keep him quiet or because he had information on rich and powerful people, do you have any reason to believe that that's true?
I do not. I have any reason to believe that, and I also think it's ludicrous, because I also happen to think if that is what they wanted, they would have had plenty of opportunity when he wasn't in jail. Yeah. And if they were worried about blackmail or anything from him, he would have been a very easy target.
Pretty wild, right? Now, of course, there was a whole lot more that she said during the course of the interview, like whether Epstein could have been working for foreign intelligence.
Well, not deliberately.
Pardon me?
Not deliberately.
Okay. And did you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just to put a finer point on it, did you ever know that were you ever told, you ever think that Mr. Epstein was getting any money from any intelligence agency, including Mossad?
Well, I don't believe so, but I wouldn't know. I mean, I would be very surprised if he did. I don't think so. No.
Did you ever know Mr. Epstein to communicate with FBI agents, either like intelligence FBI agents, like as a source, or just generally with FBI agents?
No.
Do you think if he had done that, you would have known, like he would have told you something like that? Like if I said to you, Mr. Epstein was a source for the FBI, would you say, that's crazy, no he wasn't, or maybe he was, he would have told me that anyway?
I have two answers for that. I think if he was for real, I think he would have bragged about it to me as a show-off, because he could be a show-off. And if he wasn't, he might have dropped it like he was cool. And I don't remember him doing either. Now, with, again, the caveat that before I met him, finding money, I think he may have suggested that there were some people who helped him, but that's the only context that I recall that in.
What do you mean by that? When you said finding money, what do you mean?
Well, his business where remember I told you, I think in that context, he showed me a photograph that he had with some African warlords or something that he told me, and, you know, I don't remember if that's what I interpreted, like that kind of thing, or whether it was something like that. That's the only actual active memory I have of something nefarious. Well, nefarious, I don't even know if it was nefarious, but covert, I suppose, would be the word.
There was also a discussion about her connection to Elon Musk, which, by the way, is interesting because you remember what Musk posted on X after his fallout with President Trump once he left Doge. Time to drop the really big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public.
And do you know whether Mr. Epstein knew Mr. Musk?
I believe they did. And the only reason I say this, not from my memory, but because I saw, I think I saw, my memory is that in Discovery, they were communicating on email.
So you have no personal knowledge of that. It's just what you've seen from the press or from Discovery.
And I believe his brother as well, actually.
And so you don't recall any of those three individuals like flying on Mr. Epstein's plane or visiting him in Palm Beach or at the island?
No.
So what do we do with all this? Not clear. Obviously, her words will be used for political purposes, but in terms of getting to the truth, getting real answers, transparency, it's hard to know. But I will tell you this, not everybody is happy about what she said. The family of Virginia Giuffre, this is what she had to say. The content of these transcripts is in direct contradiction with felon Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction for child sex trafficking. They added, "This travesty of justice entirely invalidates the experiences of the many brave survivors who put their safety, security, and lives on the line to ensure her conviction, including our sister." During Todd Blanche's bizarre interview, she is never challenged about her court-proven lies, providing her a platform to rewrite history. Senator Adam Schiff says, "They go and they do this interview without the presence of a prosecutor who actually knows the facts," he said this on Meet the Press. She wants a pardon. She says exactly what her lawyers tell her is going to be necessary to get a pardon. No one should be surprised here. Now, counter-argument, Maxwell's attorney, David Marcus, said, "Ghislaine Maxwell has been consistent from day one, and her testimony is backed by documents, not politics. If she wanted to make up stories to curry favor, she could have targeted Democrats like President Clinton. She didn't because she's telling the truth. The good congressman may fancy himself a mind reader, but on this, he's flat out wrong." That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.